Now, in most countries, people are free to make bad decisions.
But it's like, what did she do that was so bad? Can anyone answer that for me?
So then the question becomes, if she does have bipolar disorder, what does that mean? What is the course of this disorder? What tends to happen to people who have this disorder in the long run? But most of the time, this is considered a chronic and somewhat progressive illness. We can think of bipolar disorder as an episodic illness.
Fill the room with the juice. That's a lot of loot. That bit
no satisfaction. What? Y'all better stop playing with Britney. I'm on my TV, and that woman comes and tells me how tight my skirt should be. Y'all better stop playing with Britney, okay? Y'all really need to, look. I have purposely not made a video about Britney Spears because I need you guys to understand this right now and here before we get into this video. I love Britney Spears. I have loved her for years. Here's a quick little fact right here. When I moved to this country, I wanted one thing. Well, not at the time, but I got A's or whatever. So, my mom was like,
oh, you can get something nice. Whatever you want, you can buy, for doing good in school.
Yada, yada, yada. You want to know what I wanted? I wanted a Britney Spears CD. That is the album I wanted. Her first album, whatever that blue one was. What was that blue album called? I think it was the one that had Sometime on it, right? Besides the point, that was one of the first albums that I got. And I have never not liked her, ever. Even in 2007, when everybody was like, what's wrong with her? What's going on? She's shaving her head, yada, yada, yada. When I found out that Britney Spears was bipolar, I immediately was like, oh, so they've been hiding her. Let's not act dumb now. You cannot act like they're not going to censor her, especially when you are diagnosed with something that, quite frankly, people are still scared of. People are still scared of it. As much as we try to normalize it over here and we try to, it's normal for us to, talk about our mental illness over here. For other people, for example, if I'm dating somebody and they go to their parents and they say, oh yeah, I'm dating this new girl, I like her, yada, yada, she is also bipolar. They will go into, that might, be in the family, are you sure you want to have kids with somebody that has bipolar disorder? You know what I mean? Like, people try to make you feel less than when you tell them their diagnosis. But baby, I don't care. I'm going to still tell you, and I don't care. So, let's hop into this video. I saw what you guys said. Y'all said that y'all liked Bruce better. And I'm not gonna lie, Bruce obviously has that, that hype, peak, pop, you know what I mean? He got that personality on him. But this dude, we gotta give him a chance. Again, I haven't seen any other of his videos. So when I'm watching it with you guys. So I haven't seen the Kanye one. I do want to watch that one. The one we're gonna watch today is obviously the Britney Spears one. I don't really know how it's gonna be because I'm assuming he'll just be talking most of the time because I don't think there's really any videos or stuff other than those TikToks that we saw. So let's just hop up in here. It's 14 minutes, so I definitely don't want this video to be too long. If you're brand new here, welcome. If you're coming back, welcome back. Cadillac. And don't fall back, okay? Bars. Okay, let me stop. Because seriously, I can't. I will keep going. I will keep going. Ooh.
Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today's question asks if I can analyze the Britney Spears conservatorship. Other related questions include,
I have to make all the noise in the beginning.
Is Britney Spears better off in the conservatorship? And what is a conservatorship? Just a reminder, I'm not diagnosing anybody in this video, only speculating about what could be happening in a situation like this. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, subscribe to my channel, and consider supporting me on Patreon. I'll put the link to Patreon in the description for this video. So in the late 2000s, we see that Britney Spears was involved in a number of incidents that raised concerns about her mental health. For example, hitting a photographer's car with an umbrella, speaking in unusual accents, drug and alcohol use, shaving her head, and driving with her son.
Not unusual accents. Why are you gonna call me out like that? You rude.
Facility twice in California. This is known as a 5150 hold. This is put in place to assess somebody and determine if they're safe and can care for themselves.
The doctor is getting his money. He said, hold up a second.
I'm getting cool
before I even say anything.
Today to remove unwanted pockets of fat.
Okay.
Never.
In February of 2008, a legal guardianship was activated to protect Britney Spears. It's called a conservatorship. The conservatee is the person who's protected. So in this case, that's Britney. The conservator is the person who is essentially the legal guardian. In this case, Britney had two conservators, her father and an attorney. Now we see differences between these mechanisms used to protect people who may have mental health symptoms. Many people are familiar with the 5150. That's the 72-hour hold. I mentioned that before.
They lie.
5250.
They held me for a month and a half.
Which is a 14-day hold.
Liars.
And that usually comes after
So sick all
the
of
5150 if the assessment
I'm so
determines there is some risk.
I hate you
The
all.
5350 is a conservatorship, but it's not the type that Britney Spears is currently under. The 5350 is an LPS conservatorship, the Lanterman Petrus Short. There's also a probate conservatorship. So really, LPS versus probate is similar to temporary versus permanent. Another way to compare them would be the LPS is for the mentally ill, and the probate is for the gravely disabled. So we see this question of why was Britney Spears put under a probate
I do not
when that's
trust
not
parents.
really
I don't
related to mental illness typically.
I want you far away
Well,
from
in
me.
reality, the probate conservatorship does cover a
Trust
number
no
of
one.
mental illnesses. It may be more unusual to see it for something following a 5150, a 5250, and a 5350, but it does happen. So it's not really unheard of, just a bit unusual. The probate conservatorship gives more control to the conservator over healthcare issues. It's not really related to sanity, but again, restricted to one's ability to make decisions and manage one's life.
Okay, see.
Probate conservatorships are renewed every year.
Hold up a second.
But it's tricky from the
I didn't want to
position
pause,
of
but
the
look.
conservatee. How can
When I went to the doctor, they were asking me about that, like if there was anybody that I wanted to put on. I can't even remember the word, but they were just asking me if I like had anybody, and I was just like, no, and like I was kind of confused, like, oh, do you know what that is? And I was like, not really. They're like, basically, if like something were to happen, like somebody would be making decisions for you. And like the second I heard that, I was just like, you think I'm close enough to somebody in this lifetime for them to do something like that, for them to control something that I'm not aware of? You funny.
prove that they have taken responsibility and therefore they should be out of the conservatorship when the responsibilities have been taken away. So in a sense, it can end up being kind of a spiral.
It's a loophole.
It's difficult for somebody to get out of.
Right.
Although getting out of the conservatorship isn't always a good idea. I'll talk about that in a few moments. In 2018,
Look at her.
Britney Spears was worth around $59 million. Some estimates say it's actually quite a bit higher. Now, in that year, she spent, through the conservatorship, $400,000 in living expenses and $66,000 in household supplies. Her father was paid $128,000 out of $1.1 million spent in legal and conservator fees. Her father, Jamie Spears, requested in 2019 to extend the conservatorship to other states as well, a few other states that he listed. That same year, Britney Spears checked into a mental health treatment facility. The lawyer that was a conservator resigned. We see that Britney requested that the conservatorship end. That request was denied. Jamie Spears asked a judge to allow him to step down from the conservatorship. Jamie stepped down from the personal life responsibilities, but he had to keep working on the financial side, according to what the judge ordered. Some people are concerned that this whole conservatorship situation is not good for Britney Spears. She has been active in making business decisions, but clearly does not have complete control over her life due to the constraints of the conservatorship. So what's been going on here? Well, of course, there's no way to know for certain. There have been a lot of theories that Britney Spears has symptoms consistent with bipolar disorder. She made some statements that seemed to point in that direction. I looked around at a number of sources. I didn't see anything that indicated she was officially given this diagnosis.
Right.
That's what many people assume.
Me either.
But I'm not aware that her diagnosis, if there is one,
like, is
has
it
ever been made
accurate?
public. So
Yeah,
we don't know what's going on.
I don't think it was public.
But are these symptoms that we've seen consistent with bipolar disorder? Well, bipolar disorder is characterized by mania and depression. The difficulty with a celebrity lifestyle, with performing and being always on the go, being in the public spotlight, is that a person in that position can appear manic, even if...
Who you telling? People think I'm manic all the time. I be like,
then you should check out
first of all, y'all wish y'all could handle me manic. Y'all wish.
Even if they're not. Another complicating factor is Britney's substance use. Substance use could explain a number of the symptoms, as could other conditions. So I guess what I'm getting at here is that there's really no way to know for certain, but one could make the argument that some of those symptoms look like what we see described in the definition of bipolar disorder. Regardless of which disorder she may or may not have, clearly the court is convinced that whatever is going on is compromising her ability to function. Under this conservatorship, she is considered legally disabled. So then the question becomes, if she does have bipolar disorder, what does that mean? What is the course of this disorder? What tends to happen to people who have this disorder in the long run? Should we expect somebody with this disorder to improve dramatically? Well, each person is different. I've seen situations where people were diagnosed with bipolar disorder incorrectly because their behavior was attributed to that disorder instead of substance use. I've seen situations where they were diagnosed with it correctly, but these symptoms remediated in treatment, so they improved. I've seen situations where somebody had the disorder, but it really wasn't the focus of treatment because they had a more serious comorbid disorder, so a disorder that occurs at the same time as bipolar disorder. But most of the time, this is considered a chronic and somewhat progressive illness. We can think of bipolar disorder as an episodic illness. It's made up of 3 parts. We see episodes of mania, depression, and what's referred to as euthymia. So sometimes the person is on a high, euphoric, times when they're low, like being sad and helpless, and times when they feel okay. They're not manic, and they're not depressed. They're in the middle, so to speak, although usually they would still have a number of symptoms in that euthymic phase.
True.
As a person with bipolar disorder grows older, usually they will experience fewer manic episodes and an increased number of depressive episodes.
See?
So a lot of people think
That's
about this
literally
as
what happened.
the illness getting worse, but actually
That's exactly
it
what I
doesn't
thought.
necessarily get worse because mania makes people suffer too. So mania might be, again, thought of as being euphoric, but it has so many damaging consequences to the person's life that overall it's still a tremendous negative.
True, the brain damage.
So really, the symptoms shift a little bit over time, but the illness does not really necessarily get worse. Now, it's important to remember this is just what we would expect. This doesn't happen to everybody. Sometimes bipolar disorder is very sensitive to stressful life circumstances. So if somebody's under a lot of stress, their symptoms will usually be worse.
It's bad.
Similarly, if stress is alleviated from that person, the bipolar disorder symptoms can improve quite a bit. This idea that mental illnesses respond to stress is actually common across most, if not all, mental disorders. So with this in mind, we turn to the idea of the Free Britney movement. What are people trying to free Britney from?
That's your coin, boy. He put another ad. I'm shook.
Before you skip this
Okay, let me tell y'all why I'm shook. So,
this isn't just any ordinary
YouTubers that help other YouTubers tend to
much
say
this
that if you
little
have a video that's over 15 minutes, that you should only put about 3 ads. If you put more, people get
in
kind
this
of
situation, being told what to do, not being able to make decisions, having to be treated for unspecified mental health symptoms, or behaving in a manner whereby one could lose everything, having untreated symptoms, being placed in danger. So I think the key here is to look at the word free. Again, what would people prefer Britney be free from? In theory, there are dangers both inside and outside of a conservatorship. So it's really not clear what is in her best interest. I think it's reasonable to believe that the courts are carefully looking at the situation and trying to ensure that Britney is being treated fairly. These conservatorships are designed to protect people from bad decisions and harm that could come from other places. Now, in most countries, people are free to make bad decisions.
But it's like, what did she do that was so bad? Can anyone answer that for me?
Decisions? Well, it's hard to know what
did
happened
she
again
do
in this
that
specific
was
situation,
so bad?
But it could be that Britney's wealth attracted more attention. There's a lot of money to lose. There's a lot of livelihoods at stake, not just Britney's. She has a whole business enterprise. So for many people, if they start to make bad decisions, if mental health symptoms start to make it difficult to function, that doesn't necessarily mean that there could be catastrophic results. In the situation that Britney Spears finds herself in, again, there may be this idea that there's a lot more at stake. I don't know exactly, again, what went into the decision, but it does make sense that wealth could have played a part. Again,
That's what's crazy.
A situation where people were paying more attention than maybe usual. as I mentioned before, what's tricky about the conservatorship is how does one get out of it? It's difficult to prove that one is functional when one's ability to demonstrate that has been removed.
Mm-hmm.
The environment has changed, so it's hard for Britney to prove herself. But again, I think it seems reasonable to believe that the courts have factored this in. They probably have a number of benchmarks established. So if Britney takes her medication as prescribed, if she avoids substance use, or different other things, right? They could have a lot of different benchmarks.
She's in jail.
I don't know what the benchmarks are, but those are ones I've seen in other similar situations. Now, when somebody's a celebrity, there might be other special concerns that other people wouldn't have to the same degree. With Britney's fame and wealth, perhaps criminal elements are more attracted to try to exploit her. So that's something to think about as well. I think what confuses a lot of people about the idea of a conservatorship is that somebody can have their basic rights removed, even though they did not commit a crime.
That's what did she do?
Take away the rights of a person who has demonstrated they can't meet their own needs.
She shaved her head, big deal.
Well, as we see in this situation with the conservatorship, yes, the government can do that. And it's fairly common that that occurs. The uncommon component of this case, of course, is Britney's age and, of course, her level of success. She seems quite functional in some areas, like performing, but perhaps she's not as functional in others, like managing her finances and taking care of her basic needs. So I think this case of Britney Spears has brought a lot of attention to the idea that a person can have their basic rights removed. There are situations where mental health factors can lead to that. It's not always a violation of criminal law that can result in the deprivation of certain liberties.
Disgusting.
Now, of course, Britney's still entitled to due process, and as I mentioned, her type of conservatorship, a probate conservatorship, is up for renewal every year. So she has an opportunity to have an advocate and to try to remove herself from that conservatorship.
When she's all medicated
again,
up.
I think there are probably benchmarks in place.
I've been there.
Perhaps those have not been met, or there might be other complicating factors. So without the information
not another
being known,
ad,
without
boy. You
all these
serious.
proceedings being public,
you got some nerve.
Horse
Not in a 13-minute video.
Multitasking actresses like me all.
He said, "Who cares?"
it's really just impossible to know exactly what's going on. I think it is good that it's brought attention to the idea of a conservatorship, because perhaps many people are in a situation where they have a relative who has mental health symptoms, and they also have property and a job and income and all that, and the relative's worried that the person may lose those things because they're making poor decisions based on mental health symptoms. So this might cause relatives to investigate this idea and try to protect people with mental illness. So to sum this up, conservatorships are not necessarily a bad idea. I think they just cause confusion because a lot happens behind closed doors. There are millions of cases the public does not hear about, not just conservatorships, but many situations where people are committed to care in one degree or another. So again, I think the spotlight has come on this case because of who Britney Spears is, not because of the actual legal device of a conservatorship, right? That has been around a long time, and they're used quite often with varying degrees of success. So those are my thoughts on the Britney Spears conservatorship. Please put any opinions and thoughts in the comments section. They always generate an interesting dialogue. As always, I hope you found my analysis of this topic to be interesting.
Todd. I'm glad that you did not have not one weird joke up in there, because we all would have came for your neck, okay? Because you ain't about to be making fun of no Britney mother effing Spears. First of all, let me say this. Committed. That ding, ding, ding I did. Let me tell you guys how I landed myself in the hospital for a month and a half, okay? Against my will, was told I was going to be there for 72 hours. I was fine when the police got there. There was really no reason for them to take me other than manipulation, and obviously they gonna get a pretty penny if they bring somebody in and they're doing their job, right? So anyways, I was on Bumble. Yup, the dating app. I was on Bumble, and I was on my other account, my mental trillness account. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see in the bio that I have another account that is just fully mental health. Mental illness is just like my outlet. So when I can talk about these things without my personal or family or people that are on my personal account, so they don't get all weirded out, right? So I'm talking, I'm sending memes, doing memes. I put a meme of basically it's like a blonde girl looking in the mirror, and when she looks in the mirror, she sees trash, right? What she's saying is she looks in the mirror and she's trash. I'm on Bumble. I'm talking about how, like, yeah, my bipolar is getting really bad. I'm getting really, really sad. Like, I don't really know. I'm just trying to really, like, go through it. So that's why I'm talking to a whole bunch of random strangers. When I tell you within about 15, maybe even 10 minutes of me uploading that meme, knock, 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 on the door, police officers. Talking about it's a wellness check. We just wanted to see if you're okay. Da, 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 da. They wanted to come in. I said no. Then I go outside. When I'm outside, they're basically just like, we hear everything you're saying, but we still know that you're sad. We still know that you're feeling some type of way. So we're just gonna go ahead and you're just gonna go in for like 72 hours. You're just gonna talk to a caseworker. Just make sure that that you're doing good. And da 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 da. Oh, and unfortunately, we have to handcuff you as well. But regardless, you're only gonna be there for about 72 hours. If not, just a couple hours. If they think everything's fine, so just come with us and you'll be good. A month and a half later, I was still in there. So. He's not wrong. You can definitely be committed without doing anything wrong if you have a mental illness. That is terrifying. That is, I'll say it again, terrifying. So for everybody that's watching this that does not have a mental illness, and you probably already clicked out this video, please understand that there is a lot that goes on within the doors, the ears, the minds, and the hands of those that have mental illnesses. I'm ending the video right freaking there because I am upset. Oh, my body's so hot right now. I can't. I'm just so freaking annoyed. Like, I'm just like, it just makes me so mad that people can do stuff like that. Like, and for what? Who are you? Who are you? And what's so frustrating is, like, I understand you're trying to protect us and all, but really, it's about how you're uncomfortable. It's about how you feel weird that somebody's all manic and then depressed and then hypomanic. It's your discomfort. Oh, God. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next video. I think the next one I'm going to do is Robin Williams because I'm probably going to cry. I cry every single time I see that man, so that will be an interesting one. Other than that, Percocet. Like, why can't you just let me live? Why can't you just, I see what, you know what, Robin Williams. Let me shut up.
Yo, Percocet, Miley Percocet,